sailor, what shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor early in the morning?
Well, I'm ready to dry fit the mainframe. And as you can see, the mainframe doesn't look quite like it did on the plans. I added this brace across here to keep the side frame, keep the mainframe from deflecting in compression, help hold its shape, and until once it's all put together, and then it'll be fine. And this top piece is because I'm working by myself, and this just gives me an extra pair of hands of letting the mainframe just sit there and not go anywhere. And it's easier for me to when I'm moving around and clamping. This piece of line helps hold the side panels in close to the frame, and if I want to tighten it up I can. We call it a Spanish windlass. If I just take a stick, stick it through the two and start winding it around, it'll draw the panels in closer. Right now this 1/4-inch plywood actually bends fairly easy, and there aren't any radical bends to this boat, so I can take a clamp. I've got it clamped up. I'll do the other side as well, and then I'll just play with the clamps and make some adjustments, maybe draw this in a little tighter until I get the frame aligned with the mark. The edge of the frame will just be aligned with the mark that I made earlier on the panels, and I made them inside and out. The inside line is what I'm aligning with. The outside line gives me a guide for where I want to drill, and I want to put my screws into the mainframe. So again, I'm going to fit this up. This is going to be a dry fit, and I'll do that off camera because this is going to take me a little while. You just have to play with it and fidget until you get everything aligned the way you want it. Go ahead and drill, put in your screws. Again, just dry fit, no glue. And then once everything is fit, when we do the glue up, since we pre-drilled, everything will align and go right together without any problem. I did get the mainframe fit into place. It's all dry fitted. The screws are drilled and in place, but no glue yet. You can see how that goes in, and you can see the Spanish windlass. And you can see the Spanish windlass, and I'll be drawing this in even closer because now the next step will be here's the transom. We're going to dry fit the transom. We're going to draw in that Spanish windlass, get it a little bit tighter, and we'll go ahead and we'll drill and screw the side panels to the transom, and then we'll have our basic hull shape. And again, I'll do that off camera. It's just a repeat of what I've done before, and I'm just drawing this in a little bit closer, clamping this into place. It helps if you have extra hands, but there are ways you can figure out how to do it on your own. And once that's dry fit, I'll check the hull. I'll make sure everything's nice and even and it's not racked. And at that point, I'll take everything apart, and then I'll reassemble it after I clean out all the chips. And when I reassemble it, I'll use glue, and the screws will go in permanently. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of the transom. I'll be back in a minute. So I have the transom fit into place, and I also checked to make sure that the boat was symmetrical and it wasn't racked. And just like you check for square when you're doing some cabinet work, this is a little bit similar. You can check from each end right to the middle here of the stem, center line, and they should be equal, or at least within 1/4 of an inch or so is pretty good, and they are. So that it's pretty much right on the money. And the secret to getting it close like that is just taking your time and making sure everything is, fits properly. Don't try to rush it. Try to be as precise as you can. So I have a good hull shape right now. This is the basic hull shape, and I can take off this little strip that was helping to hold the frame in place, because now that all the holes are drilled and the screws are in place, it'll line up and go together fine. I won't need this anymore. And so what I'm going to do now is I will disassemble the hull, and I'll clean up any wood chips from the drilling and countersinking operation, and do a little sanding. And then what I'll do is I'll reassemble it, and this time I'll use an epoxy resin, some kind of water. You can use any kind of waterproof glue or adhesive, that's for below the water line. Some of these polyurethane based adhesives will work, and I just like using epoxy. And once that is done, I'll be right back to where I am right here. It's going to look exactly the same. And then from this point on, once it's glued together, we'll start fitting the chine logs, which is nothing more than a strip of wood runs right along the chine right here on the inside of the hull, and it goes from stem to stern on each side, and it kind of acts as it's a structural member, but it's also a cleat to screw into. So screws from the side panel into the chine along the sides, and this will all be plain, nice and flat, and it allows a screwing surface for the bottom panel when we fit that.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor?